Welcome back to the Leaner, Stronger, and Confident as Fuck podcast. Now, have you ever wondered what separates the women who are wondering, why am I not seeing results in their physique journey, from the women who are creating a lasting body transformation and building on it year in, year out? It's not genetics, it's not luck, it's definitely not some secret workout or meal plan. It is the traits that they embody, the behaviors that they have adopted so much that it is just what they do on autopilot. It's the way that they show up day after day without it feeling like a chore. So if you were to take all of the women who stay in shape all year round, and I'm not talking about people who are naturally lean, I'm talking about those who work for it day in, day out. This is definitely the category that I'm in. I work for it every single day. And you will find that they have some common traits and behaviors. And here's what I want you to understand, because yes, you do need to be specific with your training, your nutrition, your steps, and your recovery if you want to create a lean, defined body. All of that strategy does matter. But if you don't get the internal on board as well as those external actions, you'll find it so much harder to get the results you want and to keep them too. Because transformation is not just about what you do, it is about who you are and who you become in the process of achieving your goal. So today I'm going to be walking you through the 8 key traits that successful body transformations are built on. These are the traits that I've worked on embodying in my own journey and that I've seen in my most successful clients too. And these are the traits that you're going to want to focus on embodying yourself if you also want to build a lean, defined body that lasts. Not just something that's around for 8 weeks. And before we dive in, I'm also really excited to let you know that doors are opening again for enrollment very soon to my coaching program, Lean Body Blueprint. Inside LBB, you will get a structured plan for your training, your nutrition, and your recovery that is customized to you so that you can lose fat and gain muscle. And you'll also learn how to become the person that you need to be to actually keep the results. So enrollment opens on the 6th of April and the program officially starts on the 13th of April. And if you want first dibs on early bird spaces, which are just $20 a week, as well as access to an exclusive bonus, then you need to be on the priority list. You'll find the link to join the priority list in the show notes below. So head there now and get your name on that list. All right, let's dive in to the 8 traits. The first key trait for people who are successful at transforming their physiques is that they fall in love with the boring basics instead of getting distracted by shiny objects. They eat similar meals on repeat, they do the same workouts for weeks at a time, they follow a routine, and they keep it simple. And they're okay with that because they know that simple works. So many people get bored, they want variety, they want excitement, and they think they need to just keep things interesting or their body is going to adapt and they'll lose motivation. But your body does not respond to variety and novelty. It responds to consistency, to structure, and progressive overload. And the women who get the best results and keep them, they don't chase the latest trend or the newest hack. They don't jump from one plan to the next every few weeks. They find what works, which is the boring, basic, foundational stuff, and they stick with it. Protein at every meal, strength training 3 to 4 times a week, a high step count, usually north of 10,000 steps a day, 7 to 8 hours of quality sleep, stress management, drinking enough water, whole foods most of the time, and then some intentionally included salt foods. That's it. That's the formula. And they repeat it week after week, month after month, year after year, because they've learned that boring is what is building the body that they want. So if you're constantly looking for something new, something more exciting, something more interesting, ask yourself, are you chasing results or are you chasing entertainment? Because lasting transformation comes from falling in love with the boring basics. And as I always say to my clients, you know what's not boring? The results that you get as a result. Trait number 2 is that they have identity-based standards. Let me explain what I mean by that. Most people set behavior-based goals. I'm going to train 4 times this week. I'm going to track my food. I'm going to hit 10,000 steps. Now, those are great actions, but they're still dependent on motivation and willpower. But women who actually sustain transformation, They have shifted to identity-based standards. They don't just work out because it's on their to-do list. They work out because they are someone who trains. That is who they are. That is how they see themselves. They don't track their food because they're being good this week or because they have to hit a target. They track because they're someone who is in control of their nutrition. They don't hit their steps because they have to. They do it because they're an active person. That is their identity. Can you see the difference between those two things? When your standards are tied to your identity, to who you are as a person, you don't negotiate with yourself. You don't wake up and decide whether you're going to be that person or not. It's just who you are and therefore what you do. And that's what makes consistency effortless. So ask yourself, what identity do you need to step into to create the transformation that you want? Are you someone who trains, someone who prioritizes your health, someone who follows through on their commitments and keeps their word to themselves? Because when you start to decide on that identity and then embody it, the behaviors will become just a trickle-down effect of how you see yourself and who you are being. The third trait is that they own their choices and they have chosen to enjoy the process. So they never say things like, oh, I can't eat that, I'm on a diet, or I'm not allowed that right now. Instead, they say things like, I'm choosing not to have that right now because it doesn't align with my goals. They don't make excuses, they don't play victim, they own their decisions. And here's the key, they have chosen to enjoy the journey. They understand what each phase of transformation involves. They know that fat loss means saying no more often. That is part of the process, and so they own it. They know that building muscle means the scale might go up. They know that maintenance means staying consistent even when motivation dips. And they have made peace with all of that. They're not resentful about it. They're not complaining about how hard it is or how unfair it is that they can't just eat whatever they want. They have accepted the reality of what transformation requires, and they have chosen to enjoy it anyway. Because here's the truth. If you are constantly fighting the process, resenting the choices that you have chosen to make, if you have chosen to do a particular phase, or wishing something was easier, or wishing that it could be a different way, you are making it so much harder on yourself. When you own your choices and you find a way to enjoy the process, even the boring parts, even the hard parts, your whole experience will shift. You stop feeling deprived, you stop feeling like you're missing out, and you start to feel empowered because you are in control. So ask yourself, are you owning your own choices or are you playing victim to them? And have you chosen to enjoy this process, or are you white-knuckling it through, hoping it ends soon? Because that is a surefire way to lose the results at the end. The fourth trait is that they take action regardless of how they feel. Let me be really clear about this. The people you see achieving transformations, they are not motivated all the time. I am not motivated all the time. In fact, I have just been sick for pretty much the last 2 weeks, and I've had to drag myself to the gym and really make sure I'm consistent with my nutrition, even when I wasn't hungry, even when I didn't feel very well. I was not motivated to do that, but I don't take my action out of motivation. I take it out of the commitment that I have made to my goal and to myself. So they have days when they don't feel like training, days when they're tired, days when they'd rather skip the gym or order takeout or just not track their food. But they have learned to do it anyway because they understand that no one, absolutely no one, feels motivated all the time. And waiting until you feel motivated is a guaranteed way to stay stuck or to make very average progress. Because motivation comes and goes. It is unreliable and it is definitely not a strategy. What is reliable, though, is commitment. The commitment that you make to yourself and to the goal. So these women who are successful at body transformations, they have committed to the result that they want. And they honor that commitment to themselves no matter how they feel in the moment. They have built the skill of doing hard things even when they don't want to. And it is a skill. And that skill can create a lasting transformation by itself. Because the reality is that if you only do the work when you feel motivated, you will do the work maybe 30% of the time, if that. And 30% consistency definitely does not create the results that you want. But if you do the work, no matter how you feel, you can be consistent 80, 90, almost 100% of the time. And it's that level of consistency that definitely creates results. So the question is never, how can I stay motivated? The question is, how do I start to show up even when I am not motivated? And the answer is simple. You decide that your commitment matters more than your feelings. The fifth trait is that they focus on learning skills rather than following rules. So many people approach transformation like they are following a prescription. They want to be told what to eat, when to eat it, how to train, how many steps to hit, and they follow these rules as long as they can. But the moment life gets hard or the plan doesn't fit their situation, they fall off because they have never learned how to actually make decisions for themselves. The women who actually sustain transformation, they are focused on skill building. They learn how to train effectively, how to progressively overload, how to get close to failure with their lifts, and how a program is structured and why it is structured that way so that they can then actually understand the process. They learn how to track accurately, how to weigh their food, how to estimate portions when eating out, and how to fit flexibility into their plan. And it's this skill that's then going to allow you to transition away from tracking to keep your results in the future too. They learn how to build nutritious meals, how to balance protein, carbs, and fats, and how to make food taste good without needing a fancy recipe. And they learn how to shift their mindset, how to actually handle setbacks, how to stay consistent when motivation drops, how to manage their inner talk so that they can consistently take the actions that are required to get the results. And because they've learned these skills, they can take complete control of this area of their life for good because they understand the why behind the what. And that is why education is such a big part of all of my coaching. Because when you really understand it, you can say goodbye to a whole bunch of random rules and restrictions that so many people are trapped in, thinking that it is going to give them the results that they want. Because a true transformation comes from building competence and understanding nutrition and training and how to apply it to your body. It doesn't come from a list of foods that you can eat and foods to avoid or some random workout. It comes from understanding how it all fits together, which is the science of fat loss and building muscle. So ask yourself, have you just been blindly following rules in the past like I did for so many years? Or are you actively learning the skills that are going to set you up for life? The sixth trait is that they are honest with their data and they make decisions based on what is actually happening, not on how they feel. So let's start with the honesty piece because that is huge. If you are tracking your food, but you are not weighing it accurately, you're not tracking when you're eating out, you're estimating portions even when you're at home, or you're forgetting to log certain things, having lots of bites, licks, and tastes that aren't being tracked, you're only hurting yourself. No one else sees your food diary. Maybe, obviously, if you're working with a coach, they might have a look at it, but they don't know if what you're putting in there is accurate or not. And so if you are being inaccurate with what you're putting in, then you can't make proper decisions about whether you actually need to make any adjustments or whether what you're doing is actually working. And this is something that I fixed in my own journey. And I had spent a long time just kind of doing it half-heartedly or feeling like I could get away with, not logging that thing that I was having, or when I was eating out, choosing the thing with the lowest calories out of the options that were coming up on my FitnessPal for my meal out. And ultimately, I just wasn't getting the results that I want. And something that I say to all of my clients is just tell me if you end up going over your targets, if you end up eating something that you think that you shouldn't have for your targets, for your plan, not that anything's off limits, but you overeat or something goes wrong, just be honest with it and put it in, because then I can help you through it. Then we can actually have a look at what is going on with the data. And instead of thinking maybe we might need to cut calories, if I think you're being accurate and we're not seeing the results, then actually we dial in the accuracy and keep the calorie target the same to be able to continue to see progress. So if you have a good coach, they will not judge you. They will be able to actually look at things objectively with you and help you if you are honest with the data that you put in. So being inaccurate means that you just can't make informed decisions. And when you can't make informed decisions, you will stay stuck and you will wonder why it's not working. Because it's so easy to forget as well when you look back at your data, whether that was something that was accurately put in or not. And so we want to just be accurate, honest with ourselves, because whether you actually track it or not, the food that you're consuming is actually making a difference to your body composition. So you might as well be as honest as possible so that then you can actually use that data to get you the result that you actually want. And then the second part is that they make decisions based on that data, whether it is calories or scale weight or measurement trends, rather than using their feelings as a guide. So maybe the scale goes up, but they don't panic. They look at their data objectively and they start to look at it with a curious, data-driven mindset. So did they eat more sodium yesterday if they were out at a restaurant, for example? Are they in a certain phase of their menstrual cycle? Did they train hard yesterday? Is their digestion off? Are they particularly stressed? Is this just part of their normal fluctuation and rhythms? They use their data to start seeing patterns and make rational decisions instead of reacting emotionally to one number on one day. And maybe the progress photos and the measurements show change, even if the scale hasn't changed that much. So they trust the photos and the measurements, not just the scale. This is what it means to be data-driven instead of emotion-driven. And it's one of the most powerful skills that you can develop, because I see so many people freak out just because of the scale, and it can just cause them to either then become too restrictive or just throw in the towel if they let it get in their head. So ask yourself, first of all, have you been being completely honest with your tracking? Are there some things that you could improve on that level? And are you making decisions based on what the data is actually telling you or based on how you feel? Feelings lie, data doesn't. The seventh trait is that they see setbacks as learning opportunities, not as signs that something is wrong and that their goal is not meant for them. Because let's be honest, setbacks are part of the process. You are going to have weeks where you don't hit your targets, days where you go perhaps off plan, situations that don't go the way that you hoped. That is not failure, that is life. And the difference between women who stay stuck and women who keep going is how they respond to those setbacks. So many people spiral and think, I've messed up, I've ruined my progress, I'm terrible at this, what's the point? And then they either give up or then they try to make up for it by restricting harder, which then just perpetuates that yo-yo cycle. Women who actually transform see setbacks very differently. They ask, what can I learn for this? What went wrong? What could I do differently next time? They treat it as data, as feedback, and as a chance to actually improve. And they don't dwell on beating themselves up about it. They don't attach their worth to it. They just look at what happened, figure out why, and make a plan to handle it better if they need to. Sometimes there's nothing to be done. It was just one of those things. But that is the mindset that actually creates lasting change. It is not about being perfect if you want a lasting transformation. It's about being willing to learn and adjust when things don't go to plan, so that you can build those skills that we've already spoken about. So the next time you have a setback, and you will, ask yourself, is this a reason to quit or is this a chance to get better? The answer to that question will determine whether you keep moving forward or end up stuck in that same cycle. And then the last trait, the eighth, the one that ties all of this together, is that they are patient and they play the long game. They know that a true transformation is about so much more than fat loss. It is about building muscle, embedding habits, shifting your lifestyle, and moving through nutritional phases, not just completing an 8-week challenge. They are not looking for quick fixes. They are not expecting dramatic results in a few weeks. They're not comparing their week 4 to someone else's 2-year transformation. They understand that real lasting change takes time, and they are willing to give it that time because they know that shortcuts don't work. Quick fixes don't last, and sustainable transformation is built slowly, consistently, over months, and ultimately over years. They monitor their results, but they focus more on the process because that is the part that they can actually control. And they trust that if they keep showing up, keep doing the work, keep staying consistent, the results will come. And they do. Not in 8 weeks, not in 12 weeks, but over time. The compound effect of consistency will create the body that you want. So if you are getting impatient or frustrated that it is taking longer than you thought, stop comparing yourself to other people's timelines. Stop just focusing on wanting the result now. Instead, focus on staying consistent with the process, even when you can't see the progress just yet. Trust that if you keep doing the work and you're not just focusing on dieting all the time or doing random workouts, if you are actually going through nutritional phases and you are focusing on building muscle and doing strategic fat loss phases in between, trust that the work you're doing today is building the results that you want, and that in a few months' time, it will all start coming together. That is the long game. When I had committed to this photo shoot prep, I signed up with a coach over 7 months, about 7 to 8 months out before the result that I wanted. And we spent the first few months not focused on fat loss. That is what I'm talking about when it comes to playing the long game. So there you have it, 8 key traits to embody for a successful body transformation journey. Let's recap them quickly. Number 1 is fall in love with the boring basics. Number 2 is have identity-based standards. Number 3, own your choices and enjoy the process. Number 4, take action no matter how you feel. Number 5, focus on learning skills, not following rules. Number 6, be honest with your data and make decisions based on what is actually happening, not your feelings. Number 7, see setbacks as opportunities to learn. And number 8, be patient and play the long game. So these traits are not about tactics, they're about who you become in the process. And what I want you to take away from this episode is this. You don't need to also then go and try and embody all of these perfectly right now, but you do need to start working on them. So pick one, whatever one resonates with you the most, the one that you know for sure that you are missing. Start embodying it day by day. Start practicing it and start becoming the kind of person who has that trait. Transformation is not just about changing your body. It is about changing your mind, changing how you see yourself, and changing how you show up on a day-to-day basis. That is when the result that you want becomes inevitable. And if you are ready to develop these traits with structure, support, and a proven plan, the Embody Blueprint, my coaching program, opens for enrollment on April the 6th. So inside LBB, we work on both the tactical side, so you will get exactly what to do for your training, your nutrition, your recovery, and the internal side too. So mindset, habits, and identity. Join the priority list by jumping into the show notes and grabbing the link there. And by being on that list, you will get access to the early bird discount. So you'll be able to join the 12-week program for $20 per week. And you'll also get access to an exclusive bonus by being on that list. So that's it for today. If this episode resonated with you, send me a DM on Instagram and let me know which trait you were going to start embodying first. Thanks so much for listening, and I'll see you in the next episode.